In the year 945, a queen received terrible news. Her husband, the ruler of the most powerful kingdom in Eastern Europe, had been murdered. Torn apart between two bent trees. The killers? A tribe called the Drevlians. And they weren't done. They sent ambassadors to her city. 20 men. Their demand? Marry their prince. Surrender your throne. Accept your place as a conquered woman. What happened next wasn't revenge. It was art. To understand what Olga did, you need to understand what was taken from her. Prince Igor was no ordinary ruler. He led the Kievan Rus, a federation of Slavic and Norse tribes that controlled trade routes from the Baltic to the Black Sea. Viking blood. Slavic soil. An empire in the making. But empires need money. And in 945, Igor made a fatal mistake. He demanded too much tribute from the Drevlians. When they paid, he went back for more, this time with only a small escort. The Drevlians ambushed him. They tied Igor between two bent birch trees. Then they released them. The primary chronicle, the earliest written history of the Rus, records his death in a single, brutal sentence. No ceremony. No honor. Just execution. And then they came for his wife. Olga's son was 3 years old. The throne was hers to defend. 20 Drevlian ambassadors arrived in Kiev. Not as conquerors, as suitors. Their message was clear: we killed your husband. Now marry our prince. Your kingdom becomes ours. Olga welcomed them. Warmly. She told them, your proposal pleases me. Stay the night. Tomorrow, I will honor you before my people. The Drevlians were carried in their own boats, a traditional mark of respect, directly into the courtyard of her fortress. And then Olga gave the order. Her soldiers had spent the night digging a massive pit. The ambassadors, still in their boats, were lowered inside. And buried alive, the primary chronicle records that Olga leaned over the pit and asked, "Is this honor to your liking?" This was just the beginning. Olga sent a messenger to the Drevlians. Her message was simple: send your most distinguished men to escort me. Only then will my people accept the marriage. The Drevlians, convinced she was submitting, sent their best warriors, elders, the men who had killed her husband. Olga ordered a bathhouse prepared, a traditional gesture of hospitality. The Drevlians, tired from their journey, accepted. Once they were inside, Olga's soldiers barred the doors and set the building on fire. Every single man burned alive. Olga had now killed 2 delegations, and the Drevlians still didn't understand what they had unleashed. Olga traveled to Drevlian territory herself. She told them she wanted to mourn at her husband's grave. She brought a small escort. She seemed broken. The Drevlians, perhaps relieved to see a grieving widow instead of a warrior queen, relaxed. Olga hosted a funeral feast. Traditional. Respectful. Her servants kept the cups full. The Drevlians drank. And kept drinking. When the Drevlians were too drunk to stand, Olga's soldiers moved through the feast like a scythe. She returned with an army. The Drevlians retreated to their capital, Iskorossen. Thick wooden walls. A desperate population. They held out for a full year. But Olga had learned something during that siege. She had learned how to be creative. She offered them peace. Her terms: no conquest, no destruction. Just a small tribute. 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows from each household. The Drevlians must have laughed. Birds? That was all she wanted. That night, Olga's soldiers attached burning cloth to each bird and released them. Every bird flew home to its nest, in the thatched roofs of Iskorossen. Within hours, the entire city was ablaze. Iskorossen burned to the ground. The Drevlian tribe was broken forever. And Olga of Kiev had completed the most methodical revenge in recorded history. Here's the part that doesn't make sense, unless you understand power. Years later, Olga traveled to Constantinople, the heart of the Christian world. She was baptized. She took the name Helena. And the Eastern Orthodox Church, the same church that records her revenge in gruesome detail, made her a saint, Saint Olga of Kiev. Equal to the apostles. How do you reconcile those two images? The woman who buried men alive and the woman canonized as a saint. The answer tells you everything about the world she ruled. In the 10th century, power wasn't given. It was taken. And held through fear. Olga understood that her son's survival, her kingdom's survival, depended on making an example so brutal that no one would ever challenge her throne again. She succeeded. The question Olga of Kiev forces you to ask isn't whether what she did was right. It's whether revenge, true, calculated, artful revenge, can ever be justified by what it protects. She didn't just kill her enemies. She eliminated the very idea of opposition. And in doing so, she secured a legacy that has lasted over 1,000 years. They killed her husband. They demanded her throne. They thought she was weak. They were wrong. If you want more stories that history class skipped, the brutal, the strange, the unforgettable, subscribe to Endless Hub. We post new hidden history videos every week. Drop a comment below. Was Olga a hero protecting her son, or did she go too far? I read every response. And if this story got under your skin, share it. Because the algorithm loves revenge just as much as history does.